Hi everyone, it's Miss Celeste. I'm here and we are now on week 2, part 6 on our journey through ECE101. And tonight we're going to talk about Piaget. And he is a theorist in early education, and he really focused on the cognitive development and how that all works and how that develops in children, and all the details on how to support that when children are learning. So before we get started, I am going to just kind of give some reminders this week. So just making sure that we're doing our reading and utilizing the resources, starting or finishing our discussions, making sure that we're responding to our peers consistently and in a timely manner, just so we can keep that conversation going, which is really important through this online course. Our replies are due Saturday, so I did want to mention that as a reminder. Journal blogs are due Saturday as well. And again, you're going to be focusing on a theorist of your choice that you want to write about. Due Sunday is our PowerPoint. Some of you have reached out to get some support with that, so thank you so much in doing that. Any others who have some questions or any that we can talk about in our live session, I'll be so excited to support you there. And therefore, we have our teaching hours and reflection. So again, that is done weekly. And there is a mandatory 45 hours that is required at the end of our course here. So in doing these weekly, I'm just trying to make sure that we are accomplishing those to support you. And if you have any questions on that, please reach out. And then after our live session, you're welcome to do reflections. Those are due on Sunday, and those are extra credit. So that is your choice. Okay, so week 2, objective 6 is going to focus on Piaget. So our goal is really for you to understand his history, mission, and purpose, and how he really supports children's learning and development. So my question to reflect on is, who is Piaget? Have you heard of him? Maybe in other classes, or even you've applied him in your classroom in terms of how you approach, the cognitive aspect of how children grow and learn. So there are different ways that maybe some of us either have used or read about or want to use. So again, we're going to kind of get into who he is. So he was born August 9th in 1896. Today, Piaget is best known for his research on cognitive development. He studied the intellectual development of his own 3 children, which I thought was super interesting, and created a theory that described the stages that children pass through in the development of intelligence and the formal thought process. Piaget saw that children are constantly creating and recreating his own model of reality, achieving mental growth by integrating simpler concepts into higher level concepts at each stage. Because children all learn different, all of these realities and mental growth and how they make their process, of new concepts come into real life is all different. And so he really believed that, achieving mental growth by, having simpler concepts is because they're starting to fully understand what's happening, and their brain is growing and connecting all those new concepts to more of a higher level in more detail as they grow and learn. So he is a big believer in the cognitive development aspect. So he really believed in these 4 stages. But before we watch this short video, there are different stages that he focused on. So the first stage of development was from birth to about 2, which is and is the sensory motor development, sensory motor development, the pre-optional development, which is stage 2, which is from ages 2 to 7. And then it goes to the concrete, which is a third stage of cognitive development, which is approximately 7 to 11. And then the formal is operational is the fourth and final stage, which is from 12 to adulthood. So let's listen a little bit about each of these stages in more detail.
Piaget's theory argues that we have to conquer 4 stages of cognitive development. First, the sensory motor stage. Second, the pre-operational stage. Third, the concrete operational stage. And fourth, the formal operational stage. Only once we have gone through all the stages, at what age can vary, we are able to reach full human intelligence. 1. The sensory motor stage, ages birth to 2. In the sensory motor stage, we develop through experiences and movement our 5 senses. Our brain wants to see, hear, smell, taste, and touch as much as possible. First, we start with simple reflexes, and soon after, we develop our first habits. From 4 months old, we become aware of things beyond our own body. And then as we get older, we learn to do things intentionally. A key milestone is the development of working memory, or in Piaget terms, our realization of object permanence. Before that, our mum can show and then hide a teddy, and we would think it's gone. After, we understand that objects continue to exist, even when we can't see them. We start becoming curious about everything. We want to smell flowers, taste food, listen to sounds, and talk to strangers. To explore more, we move. We learn to sit, crawl, stand, walk, and even to run. This increased physical mobility consequently leads to increased cognitive development. But we remain egocentric, meaning we can perceive the world only from our own point of view. 2. The pre-operational stage, ages 2 to 7. Our thinking is mainly categorized through symbolic functions and intuitive thoughts. We have lots of fantasies and believe objects are alive. As we are not able to apply specific cognitive operations, Piaget calls this stage pre-operational. We learn to speak and understand that words, images, and gestures are symbols for something else. When we draw our family, we are not concerned about drawing each person to scale, but rather with their symbolic meanings. We love to play pretend, which allows us to experience something new and learn a lot. At around age 4, most of us become very curious and ask many questions. We want to know everything. We can call it the birth of primitive reasoning. Piaget calls it the intuitive age, because while we realize that we have a vast amount of knowledge, we have no idea how we acquired it. Our thinking in this stage is still pretty egocentric. We think others see the world like we do, and still don't understand that they see it differently. 3. The concrete operational stage, ages 7 to 11. We finally discover logic, and we develop concrete cognitive operations, such as sorting objects in a certain order. One example of this is inductive reasoning, which means that if we see someone eating a cookie, we can draw a conclusion and then make a generalization. And we now get the concept of conservation. We understand that if we pour orange juice from a normal glass to a taller one, the amount stays the same. Our younger sister will pick the taller glass, thinking she gets more. By the same logic, we only now can understand that if 3 plus 5 equals 8, then 8 minus 3 must equal 5. Our brain learns to rearrange our thoughts, to classify and build concrete operational mental structures. For example, we now know that we can reverse an action by doing the opposite. Excited by our new mental abilities, we apply them in conversations, activities, when we learn to write, and in school. As a result, we get to know ourselves better. we begin to understand that our thoughts and feelings are unique and not necessarily those of others. That means that we learn to put ourselves in someone else's shoes. 4. The formal operational stage, age 12 plus. Once we become teenagers, we become formally operational. We now have the ability to think more rationally about abstract concepts and hypothetical events. Our advanced cognitive abilities allow us to understand abstract concepts such as success and failure, love and hate. We form a deeper understanding of our own identity and our morality. We now also think that we understand why people behave the way they behave, and as a result, can become more compassionate. Our brain can now do deductive reasoning, which means we can compare two statements and reach a logical generalization. Our new mental skills allow us to plan our life systematically and prioritize, and we can make assumptions about events that have no necessary relation to reality. We can now also philosophize and just think about thinking itself. Our new sense for our identity now also creates egocentric thoughts, and some start to see an imaginary audience watching them all the time. Piaget believed in lifelong learning, but insisted that the formal operational stage is the final stage of our cognitive development. Jean Piaget's first interests were animals, and he published his first scientific paper on albino sparrows in 1907, when he was just 11 years old. In 1920, he began working with standardized intelligence tests. He realized that younger children consistently make types of mistakes that older children do not. He concluded that they must think differently and spent the rest of his life studying the intellectual development of children.
Thank you. So again, the four stages of development, Piaget really felt that through each of these stages, cognitive development was supported. And, but he really felt that the last stage, was the final stage of cognitive development. He really wanted children to get to know themselves, their abilities, their capabilities, so they become more understanding of their skills, so they can be lifelong learners.
Piaget's theory argues that
Sorry about that. Teaching the world through Piaget's. So Piaget, supported our foundational knowledge of childhood cognitive development. His theories really influenced our field of developmental psychology, sociology, education, and many others. Piaget, to him, it was really important parts that contributed to a child's cognitive development. He felt that interactions between children and those around them, like other adults, other children, in addition to their environment, were most important to their growth and development. So that's why when we talk about environments and how they affect development, this is one area that Piaget really spoke a lot about. Piaget also was well known for his use of schemes, which was basically mental images, or otherwise known as concepts or framework that organizes, like information of how children process it. So, he really just was a big believer in the cognitive development and really laid the foundation for us to learn more about those specifics through the different fields of development. Lastly, I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. I hope Piaget's lesson was super insightful. If you have any other questions or anything else I can support you in terms of the four stages and anything about him, please reach out. Our next stop would be part 7 of week 2. And just a quick reminder that reflections are due Sunday for extra credit. And until next time, I will see you later. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.